Hey guys, a little late, but let's talk about the recent announcements on the National Day rally for HDB wise. So there are three main things that the PM brought up lah, but in details, these are the few of them. Okay, the first one will be the new classification of flats from non-mature estate to from non-mature and mature estate to standard plus and prime. Then the second one will be for singles. Then the third one is more towards the seniors because we have an aging population, and that is why they want to cater towards that, right? So in a summary, let's look at this infographic wise. So standard we take a look at this one the map I think it's quite obvious that the central area, which in Singapore's case is a little bit unique in the sense that our central is a little bit basically south, because that was where our CBD and our dock used to be Then this will be mostly the prime and the plus next time. Then the rest will be the same standard and some plus depending on your location, but majority of them outside of these will be the standard ones. Then I would say for the standard wise, in terms of restriction, not much difference, about the same. 5 years MOP, so it'll be the same, about 4 to 5 years to build, then 5 years MOP. They are saying that they're trying to speed up to 3 years to build, but we don't know yet how much delay is gonna be, because there's still quite a lot of projects ongoing. Until that has actually happened, let's not take it as it is let's just take it with a pinch of salt. Okay, it's not that I'm trying to be skeptical, but sometimes you just have to leave the results to be seen until they I mean, everyone can talk, a lot of people can talk, but until the results is shown, if not, then a lot of things may not be what it is, right? So the standard ones, there's no recovery subsidy, so it's about the same. On the other hand, the plus one, which will be starting from second half of 2024. So whatever it is, current regulations is until the second half of next year. It will still run as it is until then. Okay, so it's not immediate effect thankfully for those of you who are really looking to go for the BTOs. But let's see, for the plus ones, it will be 10-year MOP, so it's not just the PLH, the prime location housing anymore. It's also inclusive of this plus one. Of course, the subsidy recovery will still be around, it's just that it's lesser than the PLH. There will also be eligibility ones, such as the income ceiling, or these, which I feel will be a fair game will be a good thing. So I think this recent measures is quite a fair thing I will agree that it's quite a fair thing Alright, and here also income ceiling for blah blah blah, all these it's the same as currently. It's just that remains to be seen whether they are going to change anything, because now it's just like a rough revelation of details. It's not too much of a details right now. And I think before people get too excited over this is something that I feel, I may be wrong, but I feel this should be the case. Standard subsidy, basically what their subsidy means when it comes to HDB BTOs is that resales are, for something that's older, they're selling more expensive than the BTO price that they sell you. That's why they call it a subsidy. So these are the standard subsidies. And before you go batshit crazy about this plus they say more subsidies and then because of this, what you see over here, where is it? I think, can't remember where is it. I think it's over here. Will come with more subsidies compared to the standard BTO. What I interpret it as, okay, of course, please correct me if I'm wrong, is that, example, let's say Bishan, they sell you the flat at $500,000, whereas if you buy currently a non-mature estate, example at 300 plus $400 plus $1,000, so the subsidy between the resale and the BTO, the difference is the difference in the price is the so-called subsidy. So the bigger the difference, then hence supposedly the more the subsidy. That is what it means. I don't think they are going to give you more grants for buying the plus or primes in that sense. Okay, so the most subsidies, this is what it means. Basically, the area which is the most prime, you will have the biggest difference, and hence they call it the subsidy. Okay, it's not it is very, very, very likely not going to be an extension of grants. And then the other one we may want to note, which can have quite some impacts on the market, of course not as big as the typical couple looking for HDB resales, is the singles option. Then they are able to buy not just buy non-mature estates. Currently they are still only able to buy non-mature estates. Now they can even go for prime. It's just that all will be 2-room flexis. If they want to go for resale flats, now they can go for anything, but next time it will only for prime 2 rooms. Plus they can go for pretty much all these. Okay, so the how to say, your choices is not very, very limited when it comes to singles lah. So let's take a look at the effects of these cooling measure, possible effects. Why do we have these? Because remember, this is why we have all these measures for, especially even the HDBs, because the government has been saying a lot of times that the public housing is not for us to do speculation. It's not for us to do like it's not for us to be meant as a speculative or massively appreciating asset, because if somebody profits a lot, somebody else have to take over at that price, and then thereby driving up the prices ma. So it's just basic economics, right? Then that will cause the definition of public housing to go haywire all over the place. In fact, if I'm not wrong, I think our public housing scheme is the most expensive in the world, right? So we have to keep this affordable. All these have been reiterated time and time again by the government. We are not supposed to make it you're not supposed to have a giant windfall. Although we know that yes, there are people who have quite a big windfall, $500,000 to $800,000. But the $800,000 is more for those people who have held for very, very, very long. Example, those that bought Pinnacle at Daxton last time, they buy like 400,000+, if I'm not wrong, at like for the 5-room, and then today they are selling at that kind of price, so that's why they make about $800,000+. But you need to consider the time frame that they are holding on to. So if you are looking at the sheer amount of profits, then yes. But if you are taking into terms such as time, like ROI, all these, then it may not be the best, because you need to remember, especially if you buy into those like PLH, or rather in future they call it a prime and the plus, there will be 10 years of your investment time frame, and on top of that you still have the building time, which is about hopefully they go down to 3 years, so probably 3 to 5 years. If not, then 4 to 5 years. That means you are easily looking at 14 to 15 years, because it plus the 10 years, right? And then by the time you are able to sell, and on top of the subsidy clawback, which is the next time when you sell, there's going to be a clawback. In a way, it's like seller stamp duty. It's just that you cannot outrun the seller stamp duty, whereas in the private side, there is a 3-year time frame that you cannot outrun the seller stamp duty. But HDB, no matter what time you sell, as long as you're under that scheme, you need to be subjected to the subsidy, to the clawback thing, which at this point is like a PLH. I think for PLH is 6%. And if you think about it, maybe maybe example, just 1 million. 1 million, 6% will be how much? Already $60,000. So we will be willing to give the government back $60,000, right? And then what will be the possible effects? After all, looking at this chart, I'm definitely understanding where the government is coming from, and there are not just these only. There are certain other things that they are doing on top of this. They are behind the scenes, such as clamping down on the valuation. For your info, they are not really matching the valuations for those that are selling way above last transacted. The past 1.5 to 2 years, I think they have been trying to match, but now they have started to clamp down already. And that is one of the possible ways behind the scenes that they are not telling you upfront, that that they are using this as a tool to clamp down on the climbs, the rate of climbs for HDB housings. So let's go back to the resale part. What happens, possible, I'm just based on my own educated guesses, is that there may be people going more towards the standard flats when it comes to resale, maybe, but I don't foresee like a huge exodus of people going towards there. It's just that some people, they may be looking more towards the standard really because it's going to be a little bit more affordable. Owners are not so greedy because there is no subsidy recovery. I don't have to pay back, example, $60,000+ to the government. If let's say you're talking about $1.2 million selling price, next time the subsidy you have to pay back to the government is about $72,000. So will you be willing to pay back to the government for $72,000? And that is on top of the 10 years that you have wasted on your youth. So what happened is that when you have this subsidy recovery, there are two possibilities. One is the owner, they are less likely willing to sell. The second one is they are more likely to charge the subsidy recovery, which is additional, the 60 plus 70k, onto the next buyer, which is actually going to end up driving the prices even higher, provided there are enough of such demands next time. But there will eventually still be some people. It's just that how many of them are going to be the case. If there's too many of them, then I think let's just be prepared that the government is going to introduce even more cooling measures on the HDB sides. But as of now, I think they are throwing in measures by measures and looking at the effects of it currently. But if you have this may push some effects over here, and this may push also some effects over here. And those who want to for 5-year fresher lease, they may not want to wait for these guys over here because these are 10 years. So by the time they take over the HDB, they only left with 89-year lease. Whereas this guy, by the time they take over, is like they only left with 94 years lease. So there is a difference. Okay, so this subsidy recovery may affect the selling price, which may end up being a double-edged sword because owners may want to pass on the cost to the next buyer, thereby driving up the prices, and may also end up driving demand over to here. And the other side, for BTO wise, there may be more people who may want to go towards the standard instead because they don't want to be tied down for the 10-year mark, especially young couples. Their income is going to be growing for the next few decades. Then it is very likely that they don't want to be tied down by this 5-year MOP. Because 5 years, a lot of things can happen. You look at the past 5 years, how much private property prices have risen. For those of them who have aspirations to go towards the private, 5 years, you look at 5 years back in 2018, how much was the 3-bedder? And now how much is the 3-bedder? So by waiting for these subsidies or these, at most how much are you going to gain? Maybe about 100k to 200k for 5 years. Is it really worth it in that sense? So will this be enough to go towards, for those people who are intending to go towards private, will it be enough to offset the difference? I think in 5 years time, the private movement is going to be way more. So that this may not be this may not be actually a good way in for those people who are considering that. Oh yeah, and one more thing about this is that for the prime side and the PLH side, there is no allowance for whole flat rental. I mean, there are people, when we hear, or by the way, for those people who think, hey, I can just lock up one room and then I don't have to, then I can just rent out a flat and then just lock up one room and rent it as it is. It is not allowed. Actually, this is actually not allowed. So just to be clear, and please don't get your agents in trouble because all these, as long as HDB finds out, they may take legal actions against you because all these are under regulations. Okay, so main thing over here you may want to consider is the time frame, the 10 years time frame. Is it worth the what do you call it, the opportunity cost when it comes to going for these plus and prime flats next time? Example, if let's say you are 30 years old, you take the standard flats, you by the time you come out, you sell it, you're 40 years old versus when you're 45 years old. So assuming you have a monthly income of $15,000, if let's say you are at the age of 30 years, you can borrow this amount of money for the private side. Then if you go up to 45 years old with the same amount of income, you can only borrow only about $300,000 lesser. So will this actually affect your affordability, and how much will private properties be if you have the aspiration to go on that lah? Of course, not everyone wants the I wouldn't call it prestige, because many people get into private for different reasons. Some people want to buy in private, for the status thing. Some people want to buy it for the appreciation thing. Some people want to buy it for lifestyle. Some people want to buy it for many other reasons, legacy or whatever. So you need to know what are the reasons. But regardless, if you have plans to go towards the private, no right, no wrong. I'm not saying those people who stay in HDB, you are making a wrong decision. No, that's not what I mean. Please. It's just that when you are looking at HDB and you are thinking, hey, I buy my HDB, I have very high ROI, almost sure make money. Yes, it is true. It's just that how much you are sacrificing, and next time by the time you come out of your BTO, you sell it off, and then you subject to the subsidy clawback, all these, will you be able to afford? And with that kind of typical YOLO lifestyle that we've seen quite a lot of young people are undertaking right now, will they be actually actively saving on top of the additional time frame that they are subject to? Because I do have friends that are very high earning, but they save very, very little. So what's the point in that? And will that affect your affordability severely next time when it's time for you to be able to upgrade? Of course, if you want to stay in HDB, then by all means go and stay in HDB. But if you're thinking that the HDB is just gonna skyrocket like crazy, the next 10 years will be the previous few 10 years for HDB, then I'm very sorry to say, I think very, very unlikely that's gonna be the case. Even for private, there are many different kinds of properties. There are properties that appreciate wildly. There are properties that go stagnant. There are properties that go haywire and drop in 20 to 30 or maybe even 50% in value over the past 10 years. So it is not accurate to use to have the misconception that, hey, we buy into as long as you buy into HDB, something that is cheap, then next time it has to go up. It's very unlikely going to be the case. So you need to know what is important to you. If you want to buy into HDB, buy because you want to enjoy the space, you want to enjoy the affordability, and then yeah, that's it is. If you want appreciation and ROI, I'm sorry to say, I don't think that's going to be the case, lah. Okay. So that will be all we have for today. Just to brief recap on the HDB movements over the past few quarters, it's been quite wild, and that justifies why the government is pretty worried in that sense, and why they will want to introduce all these cooling measures. And that will be all we have for today. See you guys. Bye bye.